They left me at a freezing train station and told me, "Let's see if you can find your way back." I was 8, not a teenager trying to test her boundaries, not some grown kid playing hide and seek with life. I was just a small, fragile 8-year-old girl who thought her parents loved her, who thought this was just a weird, twisted joke, who thought any second now they'd come back laughing, saying it was just a game. But they didn't come back. The last thing I saw was my mom's smile as she got in the car. My dad didn't even look back. The red glow of their taillights disappeared down the road, and I was left standing there with a backpack, 2 juice boxes, and a heart that didn't quite understand what was happening yet, but would never forget it. I sat on the bench for a while, legs swinging, trying to act cool, trying not to look scared. My breath fogged in the cold air, and people came and went, staring at me like, "Where are your parents?" But no one said a word. It was almost like the world already knew. This kid has no one. And as the evening turned to night, I realized it wasn't a joke. This wasn't a prank. This was abandonment. It hit me slowly, like frost creeping into your fingers. I curled into my coat, hugged my backpack, and lay on the cold bench. Every passing train mocked me. Every loudspeaker announcement stabbed me in the ears. I didn't cry. I just froze. I shut down. Something in me hardened that night, like steel forged in shame. Something in me died, and something stronger replaced it. When morning came, I didn't go home. I didn't want to. Even at 8, I knew, if I walked back into that house, I'd never leave again. Not because they'd suddenly love me, but because I'd learned to accept it. The neglect, the cold, the cruelty wrapped in character building. I'd start believing I deserved it. And I refused. I wandered into the city with no plan, no map, just instinct. I found a shelter that looked less terrifying than the others. A woman with gentle eyes handed me a cup of cocoa and said I could stay the night. She called someone, I think it was child services, but I didn't pay attention. I was too busy staring out the window, wondering how many other kids out there had been told they were too much, or a burden, or not worth coming back for. Eventually, I was placed in a foster home. It was loud, chaotic, full of kids just like me, hard on the outside, hollow on the inside. I didn't make friends. I didn't trust anyone. But there was one thing I did have, the library. It became my sanctuary. I read everything I could get my hands on. Books didn't leave you. Books didn't lie. Books didn't throw you away. I buried myself in stories, then in schoolwork, then in silence. Teachers thought I was a quiet genius. Truth was, I didn't know how to speak without shaking. By 13, I was teaching myself how to code using secondhand computers and stolen Wi-Fi. By 15, I was building websites for small businesses in exchange for lunch money and secondhand sneakers. By 17, I had a scholarship to one of the best computer science programs in the country. Nobody clapped at my graduation. No proud family member in the crowd. No one cheering my name. But I walked that stage with my chin high because I knew I was dragging an entire past behind me, and I hadn't just survived it, I'd conquered it. And every painful step had been a seed, a fire, a blueprint for something I was about to build. I didn't become rich overnight. No. First, there were long nights, burnt coffee, rented co-working spaces, and investor rejections that felt personal. But I kept going. One year I had a team. The next, I had a breakthrough product. Then came funding, headlines, growth. And by 28, I was sitting in a Manhattan penthouse, owner of a tech empire. One article in Forbes changed everything. Not for me. Oh, I'd been winning quietly for years. But for them, it brought them back. It started with an email. Subject line, "We're so proud of you, sweetheart." Sweetheart? The same woman who left me trembling at a train station suddenly remembered she had a daughter. Apparently, I existed again. I laughed when I read it. Not out of humor. Out of clarity. I saw it all. The setup. The greed. The convenience. But I didn't reply with rage. No. That would be too generous. I replied with an invitation. A polite, elegant, cruel invitation. To dinner. At my place, they arrived early. My doorman buzzed them in like any other guest, unaware of the history rotting beneath their smiles. They stepped into the marble entryway like they belonged there. Wow, my mom gasped, eyes wide. This is stunning. My dad chuckled nervously. We always knew you had it in you. Did you? Did you know it when I was 8 and couldn't afford mittens? I smiled and handed them wine. Expensive.
White.
Chilled just enough to sting the tongue. A pianist played softly in the corner. They sat at my polished table, mouths full of praise, pretending like 20 years hadn't passed in silence. Then I picked up the remote, pressed play, and my 70-inch screen flickered to life. Security footage from April 12th, 2005. A small girl sitting on a bench, shivering in a pink jacket, clutching a backpack. And audio. My mother's voice. Let's see if she can find her way back. The color drained from her face. My dad stuttered. Where did you get that? I looked him dead in the eyes. I kept it. As a reminder of the moment, I started raising myself. I reached under the table and slid 2 envelopes toward them. They opened them. Restraining orders. Financial firewall documents. In bold at the top, you are not entitled to contact or benefit from my estate. They gawked. This isn't necessary, my mom whispered. But it was. It was 20 years overdue. I stood, walked to the door, opened it, then paused, looked back over my shoulder, tilted my head the same way my mother had the day she left me at that station. And I said it softly. Let's see if you can find your way back. And I shut the door. Not just on them. On everything they ever meant to me. They didn't know it yet, but the world was about to find out.